It's time for another edition of We Welcome Your Teams, a podcast about the most unique job in sport, football stadium announcers.
When we tried that system for the first time, I got a text saying, I'm putting my washing out, I can hear you from my house.
There was the odd occasion where, I'm jumping around like a football fan. I forgot that I was going to be announced. And somebody would say, you haven't announced the goal yet. Oh, well, I better do that. So,
Good afternoon, Southside!
Ross Stewart is, I think, a nice name to announce.
Oh, honestly, when I met Ross Stewart, I thanked him for elevating my personal brand.
So as it died down, the analyst said to me, actually, it was an own goal. And I went, bleep that, give me the mic. Goal scorer for Leighton Orient.
You are damaging the pitch. We have a game against Brighton on Sunday.
He said 10,000 of them all love you. 10,000 of them will hate you. And 10,000 of them won't give a shit about you. And I went, I like those odds.
Well, welcome everybody to another edition of We Welcome Your Teams, and with it being not just the heart of summer, but also the heart of officially the biggest World Cup going, we had to go and track ourselves down an announcer from the World Cup. And we have him here, not just any old announcer, no, the one who is in charge of the opening game, who has been doing not only the Azteca Stadium, but also the Akron in Guadalajara. Delighted to have him with us today, Marco Peralta. Marco, how are you?
Hey, Rich. Thank you for that introduction. It really means a lot. I'm doing really, really well. Thank you for the time of talking to you about the biggest tournament and obviously the beautiful game that we all love, which is football, not soccer. Football.
You're making friends already. I like that. You're more than welcome. It's good to have you. Alan, how are you, mate? Good to see you.
I'm absolutely fantastic. And I'm with the legend, Marco. Goodness me. How have we managed to get him on the podcast? All right, Marco, how are you?
It's amazing.
Lovely. Hi, Alan. Nice to meet you. Before I say anything else, glory, glory, Man United.
Glory, glory, Man United. Well, yeah.
Honestly, it's great to have you. I know because Marco is a Red Devil too, it was only right that you're here to add, to improve everything we've got going on. So you were the voice of the Azteca for the opening ceremony, or for the opening game?
Yeah, so I got hired to be the Spanish announcer, PA announcer, or voice of the stadium. For the Mexico City Stadium. That's how FIFA is labeling it.
Of course it is,
they've been changing everything.
We all know it is the Azteca, but yes, of course it is.
Yeah, we know it's the Azteca, but they're calling it Mexico City Stadium. So I got hired to do that. And for the qualifiers, which was in March to determine the last teams to go into the World Cup, I was also the announcer and in-game host for the Guadalajara Stadium, which is the Akron Stadium. So for this official tournament, the big entire tournament, I'm the Spanish voice for the Azteca Stadium. So it's all 5 matches, which is the opening match, the one we just had last night between Colombia and Uzbekistan. Then in a couple of days, it's Mexico against Czech Republic, and then the round of 32 and round of 16. So that's where we're going to be going.
Busy. And this isn't your first World Cup, is it?
No, thankfully, by the grace of God, this is my second World Cup. Fortunately enough, I was able to be in Qatar in 2022. I did more than a dozen games there as an in-game host and whenever needed as an announcer as well. So thankfully, it's my second World Cup. As a kid, I would only dream. A quick story. So I grew up a big soccer football fan. And my first ever World Cup was Germany 2006, and my favorite player back then, I played goalkeeper, a goalie growing up, and my favorite player at the time there was Gianluigi Buffon, obviously, the legend Gianluigi. And I remember waking up on that final against France and seeing that match, and I had a very small World Cup trophy, and as a kid, I would put it on my head and pretend I was at the World Cup. And I tell myself wow, that little kid that just dreamed of going to one game of the World Cup is now a voice of a World Cup. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful, So that's my background with that. And also another quick backstory. The opening match this World Cup was in Mexico and South Africa. So 16 years ago to the day, it was the same opening match in South Africa, and I was entering fifth grade at that time. So same thing, me dreaming of one day being at one game of the World Cup. Then 16 years later, after that 2010 home opening match, I get to do the opening match for the same game at a Steka Stadium. I'm like, this is awesome. The Lord is good. That's what I say.
So, how were your nerves before your first announcement in the opening game?
To be honest, I wasn't really nervous. People say you have butterflies, you're nervous, but like I just had butterflies of excitement. You know, I really got nervous and I started crying in the opening ceremony. That's when I started really, I took a moment, I just looked at the ceremony and I said, oh my gosh, like I'm actually here. There was a band that was playing it. It's called Mana, which is a Spanish rock band. I grew up listening to them as a kid because my sister introduced me that type of music. And in that moment when I heard them singing, I remembered my family, where I grew up at, you know, the stage that I was at, and I just had to take a quick moment. I just started crying, you know, so it wasn't more nerves, but just butterflies of excitement and just surreal like feelings that I'm actually doing an opening match of the World Cup. That's what it was like.
Yeah. So how did this all start for you then? How did you end up becoming an announcer in the first place?
So when I was a kid, as I said, I played football growing up. I want to be a pro goalie, you know, like many of us in the industry want to be pro athletes, but it didn't work out for us, you know. But when I was a kid, I really enjoyed listening to the commentators in the TV, like the play-by-play announcers, everything. But I didn't know it was a job. I didn't know that. I just assumed they were there, you know? So growing up, I tried my best to play soccer. I played football. I'm really gonna say football from here on out, I promise. But when I realized I couldn't be a professional football player anymore, I said, okay, I gotta do something, you know? And when I was in high school, I think it's preparatory in
Be secondary school, maybe? Yeah.
Secondary
Yeah.
school, basically. So there, I ran into one of my good friends at a church event. I'm a big believer in my faith, so I was at a church event, and a friend that I ran into, he was a substitute teacher at my high school, and we would just talk football the whole entire time. And he told me one time, like, hey, I have a sports show. You should come on one time and just see if you like it or not. And I said, oh, I would love to, you know, because the back of my mind is like, I'm not going to play pro football. I want to be an announcer because I love that energy, you know? And then when I asked him, okay, who do I talk to be on the show? And he said, okay, this guy's name is Victor Nuno. So the cool thing is that I really believe it was God just, you know, pre-writing this from the very beginning. Victor Nuno was my kindergarten yard duty teacher when I was a kid. And I was like, oh my gosh, I know who this guy is. Yes, I need to talk to him. So I talked to him, and that's why I told him, like, hey, I want to try it out, see if I like it. So he said, yeah, come on down one day. And I was on the show for one episode, and I absolutely loved it. I was nervous as heck. That's why I was really nervous, but that's why I felt like I want to do this as a career. I really love this. I really enjoy the sports industry. I also have a background in public relations, communications, because it's also very tied with storytelling, which I love. So that was in secondary, high school. And then little by little, I just started trying to find opportunities to, you know, get on air to be an announcer. Because in my hometown, like, it's about 40,000 of a population, and it's in the middle of the desert, you know, so there's no like big TVs, there's no big radio stations, very small ones. And I had a mentor, well, I still consider him my mentor. He is currently the voice of baseball in the United States. His name is Joe Davis, is also the voice of the Dodgers in Los Angeles. He would tell me like, hey, go and ask questions, go find internships, go do this and go do that. So I took that advice and I just kept on going and asking questions, knocking on doors, asking for advice, and little by little opportunities came up in my career. And thankfully, because of me being bilingual in both English and Spanish, it opened even more doors. So that led to me being an announcer in the NBA for the Phoenix Suns, in the USL for Phoenix Rising. And then because of my time there with the Phoenix Suns and the Phoenix Rising, they recommended me to be a part of the announcing team for the CONCACAF Gold Cup in 2021, I believe it was. And it was in Phoenix, and right then and there is when I met Steve. We were talking offline about him, about Stephen Payos, the Australian mate. When I was working with
friend
him,
of the show. Yep.
Exactly. So when I got there, they asked me, "Hey, do you want to do this on camera? Do you want to do this and that?" And I said, "Absolutely." Little did I know that the people that were working that tournament were the people with FIFA. And they said, "We liked what you did. Let's stay in touch." I was like, okay. At the time, I was like 22 or 21 or 22, I think it was. And nervous kid, but really, really loved what I was doing. And a couple months later, the one that I really owe a lot of credit to is Lance Brass from FIFA. He told me, "Hey, you want to be at the World Cup in Qatar?" Absolutely. What kind of question is that, So he took him over to Qatar, and here and there, like I would do some other events because besides announcing, I was having a full-time job in Major League Baseball. I was a PR person, communications person for the Los Angeles Angels, and I was also doing their Spanish broadcast. So whenever my schedule lined up, we made it work. But yeah, thankfully, it's been a blessed career. I've been having great experiences, and I'm living one right now, in Mexico, the land that my parents are from, and me being Mexican American, it's just amazing, So ever since then, it's been a great career, but I'm still pretty young, so I'm excited for what the future has for sure.
So Marco, after that rise from starting off as a broadcaster to coming into the announcing, and then FIFA knocking on the door, what was your first World Cup match?
My first World Cup match was United States against Wales. USA against Wales.
Okay.
Yes, that was the first match. It was in Qatar. I can't remember the stadium. But yeah, it was the USA against Wales. And me being a big fan of the Prem and obviously Real Madrid as well. That's my Spanish team. Seeing Gareth Bale on the main stage was absolutely unbelievable. But that was my first match. I remember all the preparation because we're leading up to an opening match of no matter what stadium you're at, it's a lot of rehearsals, a lot of practices and everything like that. So yeah, like it really was a surreal experience seeing my home country, obviously USA, but Wales being such a passionate country, being back on the World Cup in 2022, seeing all the fans going crazy. It makes everything. You have to pinch yourself every time. I had to pinch myself every time. Like, is this really real? And it was, so it was the first of many in Qatar.
Sorry, Rich. And what was the score? Did the USA win?
It was a 1-1.
Okay,
all right. Gareth Bale. Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Okay, so you got to announce Gareth Bale.
Yeah. So once we had Gareth Bale, and then it was amazing. I remember as soon as he scored it. I don't know if you guys know his celebration. He would go like that all the time.
Yeah.
So as soon as he scored, I was like, Gareth Bale, yes. Because as an announcer and, at the same time being an actual football fan, you have to remember to take it in. You're there working, but the little kid in you that dreamed of this moment, you have to remember that you have to enjoy the moment, embrace it. And that was me. When I saw Gareth score the pen, I was like, Gareth Bale celebration for sure.
Nice.
For sure.
I mean, really, it was a win-win, wasn't it? Because, obviously your home team, the USA, but Gareth Bale, Real Madrid, etc., your Spanish team. So a draw, I suppose, was a good result in this situation. Obviously you'd always want the USA to win, but this was a win-win for you as an announcer, wasn't it?
Absolutely. It was a win-win because the USA, like you said, Gareth Bale, and obviously it was a win-win because it was my first ever World Cup game that I worked. So wins all around, for sure. Wins all around.
I was going to ask how different the preparation is because you've got levels here. You've got me at EFL Championship level, where we have some scripts come through earlier in the week, and we doctor them and work out what's going on, etc., and then turn up on the day and run through it, and off we go. Then obviously, Alan, you've done England games, and then Marco, you're doing World Cup games in stadia. So what can you try and give us an idea of what the difference is the levels are like of that prep?
Yeah, so it's kind of similar to you, Rich, to an extent. We try to have a script, at least the foundation of a script, a couple of days before, because we're days coming into matches, we're still getting new content, we're still getting new ideas, especially if we have celebrities or if the president comes in, we have to change the script or anything like that, and we can have a plan. We can have a plan of, like, in the opening match, we had Salma Hayek come in and do the introduction and then be with the president. But the day of, we had to be like, okay, if she doesn't make it on time, can you do a script on the fly of saying something? Absolutely, because that's part of the gig, But it's like I said, similar to what you do, Rich, of having a script ahead of schedule for a little bit to kind of get familiar with the scripts, the cues, all that stuff. But as the days go on, we still get new content and get new scripts. But what we do have consistent is the team names, obviously, because the teams are announced before the tournament. So as an announcer, we get to practice the pronunciations to make sure we say things right. Me and my partner, we talk about, hey, how are we going to do the substitutions? How are we going to do the goals? How are we going to do this? How are we going to do that? That way that we make this the best experience possible for the people at the stadium, because we're fortunate enough to be the announcers, the voices of the building, but it's the experience that we give to the people there that we try to make it memorable, because this is going to be a memory that they're going to be taking for the rest of their lives, telling their kids, their grandkids, and us being tied to that. It's a big level of responsibility because we want to make it the best way possible.
I mean, it's very similar, I suppose, across the board, because it's the same with the FA. And you may not know this, Marco, but when the old Wembley was demolished and they were building the new Wembley, England played a lot of their games at Old Trafford. Mm-hmm. So I was very fortunate to work under the FA. And then when the new Wembley opened, I had the gig for 2 years at Wembley in London, So it was a great gig and I loved it. And I was the first, voice of Wembley, if you like. And looking at the way the FA ran it, it was similar to Old Trafford, but also slightly different in some respects. Like I found that when you're doing an international game, the script, etc., it's a lot tighter. There's not a lot of deviation, Rich. It's like, this is the time, this is the moment we're going to the screen, this is the moment we're introducing X, Y, or Z. And there wasn't a lot of movement there, and it was very, very tight.
And it was tight. It's also very tight in the sense that we have 2 languages at the stadium, English and then Spanish, of course. So we have to coordinate on timing, especially when we do our countdown. Like, okay, when does the English announcer come in? Because since we're in Mexico City, they want the countdown to be done by a Spanish person, obviously me. So getting the timing done of, like, when he finishes his read, when I start my own read, queuing up the video for the countdown, and when I finish announcing to start the countdown. So it's very tight, but once it all works together, it's a beautiful scene. Beautiful scene.
Yeah. So Marco, do you get to meet many other stadium announcers? And if you do, where?
It's funny, Alan. We're just talking about that offline, Rich and I, that I know a good amount of the people that you guys know a little bit. Stephen Payos, he's a friend of the show from Australia. Chris Temple from Wembley. So all these people I've been very fortunate to meet at venues. When I got hired with FIFA for the Qatar World Cup, all the announcers were in the same stadium, in the same hotel. So I met everyone. Everyone was there. So I was like, okay, this is why I think Qatar is never going to be, there's not going to be another World Cup like Qatar, because every stadium was within a couple minutes of each other. and all the announcers were so close to each other, so we got to know each other very well.
Hey, I'm massively intrigued because we've been trying to do this with our growing community in the UK for ages, and we've never actually managed to all physically get together. What is it like in a room of announcers? You know, who speaks the loudest?
You get to see, like, okay, this is how you look in real life, not this small in the little screen, you know? So it's a mixture, you know, like, not talking negative about anyone, you know, but, like, you know, you have personalities, you have people who are very quiet. He's like, you're an announcer, and you're the quietest person in the building. Imagine it, you know? So that's just how it happens, you know? You get to know people, get to know their story.
And also, Marco, how much notice do you get? Like, obviously, in the UK, the Premier League fixtures come out. We basically fill our diary for that season. We know what's happening. So with the work that you do, with the various work, what do you prioritise and how much notice do you get? You know, obviously we know when the next World Cup is, but do you know you've got the gig, or do you wait till this one's over? How does that work?
It varies, you know. Like in my first World Cup, I was told about 6 months in advance that they were interested in bringing me on. And I had to do the interview process, you know, if I'm going to be in it or not, you know. But I think I didn't know I was actually going until September before the World Cup, so about 3 months before. So now the preparation happens of just like, okay, how much I'm going to pack, because I'm going across the world for this, you know, like who's going to be there, who's qualified. And the thing is that for that World Cup, I didn't know which games I was going to be doing. So sometimes preparations were the day of or the day right before, you know. So it was I wouldn't say difficult, but like it really kept you on your toes. Like, okay, I'm going to Lusail today. I'm going to Albay today. I'm going to Altumama today. Which game is there? Okay, let me get these pronunciations, these stats, these notes, all that kind of stuff ready to go. Here it was a little bit different because from the get-go, they told me they want me to be at Mexico City. So it helped me prep. Okay, I knew I was playing the opening match, Mexico against South Africa. So it allowed me to basically be more prepared for when the time came. You know, so I would say it just varies. It just varies, you know. But thankfully, this time I had a whole good amount of time to make sure I was ready for that big match.
What's that interview like?
So the interview was basically they will ask for your background, just what, you know, your experience doing announcing. They will ask some questions like, hey, what makes a good announcement, or like what makes a good bit in the stadium, like why would you want to do this, and like you know the normal interview type of questions sometimes in any ordinary job, but obviously with a different type of perspective because it's sports announcing, you know. So it was nerve-wracking a little bit, but thankfully in some of them Steve was on the call, Lance was on the call, and they made me feel more comfortable to be myself, you know, because when you're doing those interviews, you're selling yourself to do that kind of stuff, you know.
Can you remember what you said when they asked you what makes a great like stadium announcement? Can you remember what you said?
For me, what makes a good announcement is you understand the people you're announcing to. You know, breaking it down a little bit more, understanding the culture that's in the stadium, understanding the situation that's going on the field. Like for me, yesterday, I got to announce Maluma for, you know, introducing him into the stadium. You know, he's a big reggaeton guy. But like using some verbiage from what they use, like instead of like, I don't know how to say in UK, but friend or homie or brother or something like that. Over in Colombia, they say parce or parcero. You know, so in the announcement, I said, parceros, give a warm welcome to a Colombian legend. So they feel identified more, you know. So I think that what makes a good announcement, identifying the people at the stadium, remembering it's for them, and just making it the most surreal as possible.
Okay, it's back to the chat with our guests shortly, but first let's take a bit of time to tell you about why we love working with ShootMusic. They are the #1 music provider to the sport DJ community, and there's no point being a great announcer if there isn't great music to back you up on your match day. So, ShootMusic have a match day DJ service. You sign up for free and get new music sent straight to you because they know that stadium atmospheres need creating and curating. You'll get access to handy instrumental versions, crowd-pleasing remixes, and specialised DJ mixes straight to your inbox, ready for your next match day. So to sign up, email them info@shootmusic.co.uk. Feel free to let them know you heard about them here on the We Welcome Your Teams podcast. This month, the team have sent round some amazing tracks. Here are 3 of our favourites.
We start with a potential new anthem of the summer for 2026. It's from the alternative quartet Daytime TV. This is called Sun. Next up, the return of a World Cup anthem. It's called Celebration. This is Super Mini and Franco Romano, but you know Sambo de Janeiro, of course you do. Finally, the brand new single from Twin Atlantic. This is called Don't Quit It.
I got a new addiction. Easy and please. Running to the fire just to let it breathe for me.
And there you have it. All tunes that were sent straight to our inbox just because we're signed up to Shoot Music's Matchday DJ service. Perfect for announcers looking for new tunes to add to their Matchday playlist or recommendations to pass on to that person in charge of Matchday music. Shoot will also support the great job announcers are doing with social media plugs and interviews with them as well. Plus, they're always looking for that next artist/club collaboration that could involve your team. And remember to see which tunes are doing the business at sports stadia around the world. Check out the Stadium Chart. There's a new one published every month. Okay, that's plenty for now about the great job Shoot Music do. Let's get you back to our guests with this episode of We Welcome Your Teams.
What's been your favourite experience? What's for you yourself? You know, with the variety of work that you have and the work and matches that you've announced at. What's been an enjoyable one? What's been the most pleasurable?
That's a good question, but the one that really tops in my head right now is Mexico versus Argentina at Lusail Stadium. Because that was a crowd of 80,000 plus people. I think about 82 or 83,000. And as a kid, my home country is USA, but my blood is Mexican. So Mexico national team games are like a religion for me. But growing up in 2006, seeing how they got eliminated by Argentina and then eliminated again in 2010, and I was like, this rivalry with Argentina, it's insane. But being there in 2022, seeing Mexico and Argentina at Lusail Stadium, the stadium that was the final, for a crowd of 80,000 people, like that are, where I'm from, and a passionate crowd like the Argentinians, it was one of the moments that I will never, ever forget in my life, for sure. That's by far my favorite one. Hopefully one day, like my goal is one day I get to work a Champions League game. Champions League final would be awesome. But as of right now, it's that game for sure. Mexico, Argentina.
Wow, fantastic, brilliant.
On the flip side of that, because we do ask all our guests, have there ever been any moments where you would rather forget? Any incidents, accidents, or slip-ups? Even at that top pro level you're at?
I think substitutions announcements. The subs announcements, because when sometimes you read it off the script and it doesn't sound good. Like sometimes who wrote this, or like this doesn't make any sense. And then sometimes you try to do it yourself, and sometimes you slip up in those situations, or the timing is not the best when you're doing those subs announcements. They want it quick. Like, well, I can't really say this quick because it's a long read, and so I would say a couple subs announcements is the ones I would like to forget.
I want to forget about it. Fair enough. That's okay. We have them all.
What about goal scorers, Marco? Have you ever got it wrong?
No.
How have you handled VAR?
Oh, thankfully, now with the technology nowadays, we don't announce VAR decisions. the referee has a microphone with him, so we just open the mic and he says a decision, and that's it. So thankfully we don't deal with that. But if it's a goal, like we wait for a confirmation from the match director, then we announce it.
I've noticed that it does take a lot longer for the actual goal scorer to be announced this World Cup than we might do sort of in England. And of course, you've got to allow for this goal music that they have across this entire tournament, which I know in the UK will go down. We say it's like Marmite. People either love it or they hate it. So obviously each country this World Cup has its own goal music, which is a new thing for a tournament, I think.
Yeah, so FIFA gives each venue's DJ like a playlist of songs that they could use. So after every goal or after every victory, the show director tells the DJ, "Hey, put this song on," or "What do you think about this song?" to make it, memorable for the fans of the winning country.
Nice touch. No, it's a nice touch. I like it. I don't know about you, Alan, but I think as the tournament goes on, do you think there are going to be sort of marketing executives up and down the UK that maybe haven't done goal music before and are going to think about doing it now?
Yeah, there'll be somebody who thinks, that sounds great. But you see, obviously, the British, the English, we are a little bit different, Marco, as you probably know. And an example we always give, some of the European clubs, they read the first name of the announcer and they want
the goal scorer.
The goal scorer to do the surname. And I tried it in the early days at Old Trafford only in a Champions League game, because it's a European match, and it didn't work at all. And I've yet to hear anybody in England, Rich, where it's worked.
I know they used to do it at Crystal Palace. I don't know if they still do it there. I know they do it. It seems to work okay at Arsenal, but that's Arsenal and they are where they are at the minute. So it's all good times. So, allowed. But there's a certain set of circumstances that it only works in.
Yeah, I know that Alex at Man City he'd do the odd player. He'd even do a bit of a sing-song.
He do it sometimes. Yeah, he would. Yeah.
But it's not for me, Marco. It's not for me.
Everyone has their style.
Exactly. Everyone does have their style.
Yeah.
The thing I am really interested in, Marco, is the level of celebrity you are within the game. So you've got me who gets maybe a free Bovril if I can sneak into the photographer's room and fill it up when nobody's looking. And sometimes there's a leftover sandwich in there when I get to the game. I have a parking space, which is about, 5-minute walk down the road. So that feels quite good. Then you go next level and you've got Mr. Keegan here with a wardrobe of freebies plus his own lectern at a game. Okay. All right. What about doing it at a FIFA World Cup? Tell us about the riders, the freebies, the I'm sure chauffeur-driven limousines between games that you get. What's the life like?
Man, I wish you had a chauffeur-driven limousines. I'll tell you that. But like it's a good lifestyle in the sense of the people that you meet. That's what I really want to highlight. Because yes, you have access to areas that people wish of being in their whole entire lives, or simply being at a World Cup and getting paid to do some announcements there, But like for me, it's the people that you meet that make the lifestyle so memorable, Like right now at the hotel that I'm at, I have people from New York, I have people from Texas, people from here in Mexico, people from Florida. If it wasn't for this World Cup, I would have never have met them maybe. But now they have played a part in my life, and that's what makes this so special in my opinion. Yes, there's some freebies, some things that you're able to keep. Like for me, the biggest thing is like I can't really show it, but like my credential, that's my biggest memory for me.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
because I get to say like this is something that not many people have. It has my face, it has my name, and it proves that I was at the World Cup. So
wow.
That's for me. People love like, let me get an autograph with the player. Let me get this. Let me get that. Like For me, I'm a guy that like just loves to enjoy the moment and enjoy the people I'm doing it with.
But I'm guessing you do get like a sandwich or something at least at the game, don't you?
Sometimes.
and I know I dressed it up a bit, but actually we have spoken about this before. But just tell us, it's not a limousine home, is it? What is it?
It's not. It's not a limousine home. It's not. You know, it's a what is it? A rideshare service. I don't know if I should say it because of copyright or just legal purposes.
Gosh, don't worry. But
you know what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah. But sometimes, you know, as I imagine with all those kind of like on-demand taxi services, it's only as good as when there's something available.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like yesterday, oh my gosh. Kickoff was at 8 p.m. Mexico City time. Game didn't end around 9:45, I think, or close to 10 p.m. I didn't get home until 1 in the morning almost because we had to find a Uber car to get to the hotel.
Oh.
It was insane. It was insane, you know, but we made it happen. We make it happen, you know.
Is what you do your full-time job?
No, so I get hired on the side, you know, like basically freelance, you know, to do this kind of stuff, you know. So I have a background of public relations, communications, because I really enjoy that aspect of telling stories of players. You know, like my ultimate goal, if I keep going the broadcasting route, is to be a play-by-play announcer for a soccer team or a football team or anything of that sort, you know. But doing this type of announcements, I still love and I enjoy it because I'm at the World Cup, you know. Why would I say no? You know, but also working for a club, being part of the communications department, you know, telling the stories that people don't know about, you know. So this is not my full-time job. So whenever it lines up with my other job, if it works out, we make it happen. You know? So.
Well, I don't know. I think I'd drop quite a few things for a World Cup gig, wouldn't you, Al?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know, if this or, you know, like DJing a mate's wedding, I think I know what I'll be doing.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly.
Sorry. Can't do it, mate.
So, Marco, how soon did you get to the gig like before it actually officially started with the first game? How soon were you there in Mexico?
A week in advance.
All right.
So the match was Thursday. I got here the previous Thursday. So I got here to Mexico City, got to my hotel. Very next day, early call time, straight to the venue to start rehearsing, because opening ceremony, you have so many aspects. You know, we have dancers, performers, announcements from this person and that person, you know. So it's a lot of rehearsing, making sure everything is working properly, you know. But as soon as the first game was over, we had so many days off. So it helps out. It helps out.
And also with that, are you sort of in the middle of the stadium observing from doing the announcements, or are you in a box? Where are you actually in the stadium? Because the opening game, it was absolutely incredible. I mean, I watched it and it was a fantastic spectacle.
Yeah, so we have our box in the top corner of the stadium, which is absolutely a challenge to get up there because the elevation and the steps are so inclined up. I'm going to walk out of Mexico City with 20 less pounds and some very strong legs. I'll tell you that, you know?
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I did wonder that about the stadium, because the stadiums we've been seeing are huge. And I've got some friends who are doing commentary at the minute, and some of their positions are quite high up. So I wonder whether, because obviously like myself and Alan are quite close to we're pretty much pitch side, aren't we, Al, in our roles? We're there by the dugout or pitch side. But, you know, you, as some of our other counterparts are, I suppose a tad removed from the action. So you can't just like look and see what the fourth official is holding up to see what the substitutions are.
Yeah, in Qatar, we were pitch side. That's where we were. But like this one is different. You know, the actual PA announcers, they're up in the box. So it's all the way up top, you know. But I'm not complaining. I'm sitting watching a World Cup game, you know.
Give a view, and I suppose because you've got all that help around you, if you can't quite see who the goal scorer was, someone else is going to worry about that for you.
Yeah, and we have someone always in our ear telling us, "Hey, he scored the goal. Confirm it. Boom, announce. We're good to go."
Good.
So
it's cool. Yeah. It's so good. And do you have, where do you draw on that level of enthusiasm but professionalism when you're doing those big announcements, when you're doing like the goal announcements? You've got to give it some for the fans, but I suppose in theory you're kind of neutral.
Yeah, so the way I go about it is it's like three different ways I would say I announce things. The regular announcer voice, and then obviously when you speak from your diaphragm for like the bottom of your stomach, and obviously the yelling, which is not the best way to do it. But the yelling is like when you have the true passion, But I always try to tell myself, try to be consistent speaking from the stomach, because for me, that's more neutral for everybody around. If like a Latino country, like yesterday, Colombia scored 3, I might go a little bit more deeper and a little bit more on the yelling side, but it's more just talk from the stomach and keep it neutral, the best way you can. I hope that made sense.
Yeah. What was it like when, I might say this right, I might say it wrong, so forgive me, Marco, you can correct me. What was it like when Jimenez scored?
Oh, the stadium went nuts. Absolutely insane. I have a video of me announcing that goal call. I'm going to eventually post it. But just think of a guy like Raul Jimenez that's been through a lot in the Prem, his head injury with Wolves, and been to multiple World Cups and not score a goal in a game, to finally do it in your home stadium when no one thought you were going to be a pro football player anymore, or not the same. And to see the energy come after that score, it was absolutely breathtaking. Yeah. Absolutely breathtaking.
That's just watching that. Those are the moments you want, the rest of us want to be the announcer for.
Yeah. So, yeah, thankfully I was able to do that for sure.
Well, look, so what's your next game then that you've got?
My next game, I have a couple of days off right now, so my next game is going to be Mexico City against Czech Republic. And so that's Mexico's last group stage match. Today they play in Guadalajara. And hopefully, if Mexico wins today, obviously I think that guarantees their ticket for the next round. And hopefully, fingers crossed, for that third match, we get to see Memo Ochoa play in the 6th World Cup. And I can only imagine when I announce his name in the starting 11, how crazy the stadium will be. Because for a Mexican to play 6 World Cups or be part of 6 World Cups, it's absolutely insane. He's in a special class with Messi and Ronaldo, and you have Memo Ochoa. It's going to be a great moment for the history of Mexican football, for sure.
Yeah, and it will be your voice talking us through it. It'll be amazing.
I know, we'll be listening extra careful, Marco. We'll be listening.
So obviously, Marco, I know you are a Man United fan, so we've got to work on somehow a game where you and Alan are kind of doing the joint announcing at Old Trafford. I don't know what the circumstances are. I don't know how it happens. I don't know if there's like a Man United Chivas pre-season friendly somewhere down the line. We have to make that happen.
Well, if there is, Marco, we'll get you on it, and we'll make sure that you're announcing at Old Trafford, my friend. I promise you. We'll get you on there one way or the other. Like Rich said, it might have to be a friendly or something that we play at Old Trafford, but we'll get you involved, my friend.
Yeah, if it doesn't happen, hopefully I just one day, I get to visit Old Trafford. That's like a dream stadium. The theater of dreams is, oh my gosh, I can't put it into words. It's a dream stadium.
I mean, I'd say, well, if you make it to the UK, then come along to West Brom as well. But I can't promise.
Absolutely,
I can't promise it delivers as much as the Theatre of Dreams does, as such. Okay. Look, Marco, it's so good to catch up with you, especially during the World Cup. It's an amazing gig, and one the rest of us can only dream of. So hold on to it tight, and just work on your freebie game, because I know for a fact that Steve Jordan, who did a couple of games in Russia, came away with a match ball. So there's a standard.
There's the thing about the footballs is that they all have chips now. They all have GPS trackers.
No way.
Because that's how they figure out if the ball actually went across the line.
Yeah.
So I'm nervous if I ever were to do that. I'm in my hotel. They're like, "Hey, where's the football?" Like, there you go.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
Gosh. Wow. Well, that's okay. Well, in that case, then please don't do it and get arrested, because I'd feel guilty then if that's what, if we see headlines of stadium announcer sacked for stealing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that information is out there, so hopefully I don't get in trouble for saying that. But like, I'm pretty sure it's out there. I'm pretty sure.
It's okay. Yeah. No, that's interesting. Okay. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Marco, brilliant. Thank you so much for chatting to us. It's been a great episode to catch up with you. We'll add you to the WhatsApp group of stadium announcers, and you can enjoy the banter about needing, little mini heaters by us in winter. Who's got the best padded gilet, and how do you pronounce X, Y, and Z, which you'll probably be actually able to help us with a few things, I'm sure.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure, Rich and Alan, to talk to you guys. Absolute honor for sure. Alan, if you send me any pictures of any Man United merchandise that you don't want anymore, I got an address in the USA. I'm telling you that.
I'll get it to you.
So cool. Marco, thank you very much. Gracias.
Thank you. De nada. Saludos. Gracias.
Gracias.
So thanks to Marco, thank you to Alan, and of course thank you to you for being with us as well. We'll be back next month, returning to more domestic matters when we speak to Ipswich's Dave Vance as they get ready for their return to the Premier League again. And as always, thanks to the guys at ShootMusic for being behind the podcast as always. But for now, it's clipboards down and mics definitely switched off to save the batteries. And in a few weeks, we'll be back. See you soon.